So as I mentioned, we're going to be going over this PowerPoint for you guys, just to give you some tips and tricks, best practices, how to build your personal brand, looking at job descriptions, building a resume, and we'll go ahead and start. So today's overview, we're going to be going over how to market yourself, how to find available jobs, understanding a job description, creating a resume, preparing for a phone interview and virtual or live interviews, and going over behavior during the selection process. All right, so we'll kick it off today with building your personal brand. And a question I have for everybody here, how many of you guys currently have a LinkedIn profile? Anybody have a LinkedIn profile? All right. So with LinkedIn, LinkedIn allows you to create a profile, expand your network, and really engage with content. So with companies that you guys are on LinkedIn and you're following, the companies are constantly sharing fun things that they're doing in the organization. They're sharing content, they're sharing jobs that are currently available. So when having a LinkedIn, we're going to go through building your profile. So the first thing here is your picture. So you always want to select a picture that represents you professionally and makes yourself approachable to others. And the second thing on here is personalization. So your profile is going to be just the front page to your story. So it's really going to be where you can show value, your passion, and really make those people that are looking at your profile want to know more. You want to draw them in with that specific personalization. From there is going to be the pitch. So adding, if you think of your summary and you think of it as, you know, to tell people what they can expect from you or describe what you do, that maybe they're unfamiliar with your current job or the current responsibilities you have. This section really allows you guys to fill in that field, highlight your strengths, how you can provide value to the team as well. And photos and videos, adding photos and videos also, they allow you to showcase your employer and your company's brand. And the last thing on here is going to be passion. So above all, let your passion for what you do come through, get creative, and definitely don't be afraid to show your personality on your profile as well. All right. Other platforms that companies utilize, social media platforms, they don't just utilize LinkedIn anymore. We've seen that most companies now are all on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and some are definitely on Snapchat as well. So these are some other platforms that you guys can utilize when looking for career opportunities. If you go on and like or follow some companies that you're interested in, they're constantly, and I know we are, sharing jobs that are available throughout our company on those platforms as well. All right, and now we're going to touch on best practices for finding employment. All right, so Indeed, LinkedIn, and Google, these are just some of the few platforms that you guys can utilize. It allows you to go in and search for jobs by job function or a specific geography that you're looking for. They allow you to sign up for job alerts. Maybe there's not a job available right now in the field that you're looking in, but you can sign up for alerts to get those when there is a job that does post. LinkedIn, of course, creating a profile and searching for jobs. And then on Google, they have Google recruiting agencies that specialize in the areas that you're looking for, as well as being able to contact those agencies for assistance when looking for jobs as well.
So real quick with these, Sam makes a good point. We've added these three in here to essentially simplify your search. I get candidates all the time asking, you know, oh, am I supposed to go on Monster? Am I supposed to go on engineers.com? And you guys know it, there's a million different job boards out there. By utilizing these three, you're going to get the maximized search capacity. So you're going to get more jobs, essentially more bang for your buck, less time for you trying to find that career that you're looking for. Google, of course, pulls up algorithms based on what you're interested in. Sam touched a little bit on LinkedIn prior. It's just a place to showcase your personal brand and connect with companies that you'd be interested in looking at in the future. And then of course, Indeed is our #1 area that we find candidates. You can easily apply to job boards across multiple, thousands upon thousands of companies. So once again, this just simplifies your search because a lot of times we get a lot of questions around, oh my gosh, where am I supposed to find these jobs? How am I supposed to find them? You could get kind of lost in the abyss of the internet. So if you focus on these three, it will really help tailor your search. And like I said, give you less time, kind of running down those rabbit holes and get more jobs that pertain to your interests quicker.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Lauren. Company website. So specifically for Purina, you can review jobs that are available by going to nestlepurinacareers.com. And in doing that, it allows you to review job requirements, find out what is a match for you. Is that something that you're interested in? Do the skills and qualifications align with what you're looking for and what you currently have? Apply to those jobs, that match your skill sets. If there are no jobs, document an interest. So we have a feature that allows you, if you're on our website and you're looking for specific jobs for an example, I'm going to go marketing, and we do not have anything open today at this time when you're on there. You can sign up for job alerts. So 2 weeks from now, a specific marketing job becomes available. You then get an email that job with our company has opened. And at that time, you can go and review the responsibilities as well as job requirements. So we do have that feature as well. Another good resource is Glassdoor. So current employees that we have, as well as employees that have gone through interview processes, they go on Glassdoor. This is a really good resource to kind of learn a little bit more about the company. We have people, that are employed with us that go on there. They list some stuff that we do that are fun within the organization, some positives about working with us. So this resource here just really gives you an opportunity to learn more about the company that you're applying to.
Absolutely. Great point, Sam. If you guys have never been on Glassdoor or you don't utilize it, definitely write it down right now. It is, like Sam said, it is a fantastic resource. Not only did everything she spoke about, but there's example questions out there. So, hey, you're interviewing with Lauren at Nestle Purina, our marketing associate position. What does that look like? You can go on Glassdoor and find out in real time, did someone have an interview last week? What kind of questions did they get? Did they find the interview hard? Was it easy? What were some of the sample questions they asked the recruiter? So once again, we're trying to take the work off you. The Glassdoor website for Purina, we utilize it as like a real-time report card. So our all the way up to our executive leadership spends time on Glassdoor. We give them reports. Hey, what's going on? What are our candidates saying? What are our people saying? Because when you get into a large corporation, we have like quarterly surveys, but we don't want to wait 3 months to find out what our people are wanting to tell us. So we utilize Glassdoor so that way we have a real time. We know what someone said yesterday. We know what someone said a week ago versus having to wait for that 3 months for like a quarterly survey. So really great resource, cannot stress that enough. It doesn't matter what company you're applying for. There should be some information unless it's like a really small startup. But a lot of the bigger companies, there's a wealth of information out there. You can rate the CEO on, how do we feel like our CEO, Nina Lee, how is she doing? How is she, leading the charge of our associates? So a lot of great information. If you don't take anything away, jot down Glassdoor if you've not been on it. If you don't utilize that ongoing, it's a big loss. You should definitely add it to your search, add it to your save toolbar, because it is a wonderful resource to find out about any company and any recruiting process.
All right. Next, we have understanding a job description. So when you're looking at a job description, you always want to read those job responsibilities and make sure that those responsibilities align with what you are looking for, as well as reading the requirements and qualifications. You want to make sure that the qualifications that the company is asking for are qualifications that match what you currently have. as well as taking back, what can you learn from this job description, and what is the job description say that is important to you as well? What do you take back from that? What interests you in that job description that makes you also want to learn more, about the company and about, that specific job that you're interested in?
Absolutely. Thanks, Sam. And I can even speak for myself when I was looking for a job many moons ago. I really just looked at the job description as, hey, do I check the boxes? Do I meet the requirements? This is, like Sam said, a great opportunity for you to learn about the position as well, because at the end of the day, we want to make sure it's a good fit for you. We would hate for you to go through the interview process and then you find out like, hey, maybe that job's not quite for me. So really use it as an opportunity to gain some understanding as to what does this job entail? Is that something I want to do? As we get into the next slides, I'm going to make y'all feel uncomfortable. You're going to have to come off mute a couple times, but I'm going to have some questions for you. So please, I would love the engagement. I'm going to have some questions as we go through the next slides. It won't be anything terrible. So if you don't mind, please come off mute. I'd love to hear your feedback. But as we get into a job description, here's a sample of one of our real life job descriptions for our marketing associate position. So put yourself, you just saw this posted on Indeed, you went to our Glassdoor, you find out Purina is a wonderful company, you get to bring pets to work. How great is that? You love all of the benefits and you want to apply. You see this marketing associate position, it sounds right up your alley. Can you come off mute? And tell me just real quick, kind of a couple things. What do you see on here? What would you learn from this job description? Does anything stand out? Do you think there'll be planning in this role? Promotions? What else, guys? You guys are sleeping. So looking at this job description, you're going to see a couple things. You're going to see that this role is around promotions. It's around packaging, budget, forecasting, market analysis. It doesn't take a real long time for you to quickly see, hey, as Purina, what are we looking for when we're looking for this type of role? Or as a candidate, what can I expect when I'm thinking through what are my first 6 months going to look like? What is my first year going to look like if I would join the organization? This will actually give you a really great screenshot of what that would look like. In addition, you can take this and form really strategic questions to ask the recruiter or ask the hiring team as you're moving through the interview process. And once again, these questions aren't to impress a recruiter, they're not to impress the hiring team, but what do you want to get from that? For instance, I've never worked with a budget. What percentage of this role is working with a budget? And am I going to get the tools and the training to make sure that I can, forecast correctly? Things like that you would want to get from this job description to make sure, like, yes, I'm comfortable with that. I would feel like I have the tools to succeed. And then you have the right questions to ask as well. Once again, main thing at the end of this, we want to make sure it's a good fit for you, not only yourself, but our company as well. Market analysis. I have a lot of insight in market analysis. So maybe you're going to highlight some of those things as you walk through your resume or walk through some situations or examples that you have for the hiring team or the recruiter. In addition, those are just kind of on the far left side. On the far right side, that's when we get into those basic qualifications. These are what we have to move you forward. So for instance, a bachelor's degree from an accredited institution, 3 years, etc. I get a lot of questions around, okay, like this second bullet under experience. It says working in digital marketing, e-commerce development, including sales and marketing strategy preferred. What if I don't have that? If it is a preferred, you absolutely still can apply. Please do. Those are just nice to have. That doesn't mean we have to have it. You may have some applicable experience in other areas that maybe we didn't think about. Maybe your background in procurement could be a really nice fit for this role. So we definitely look at diversity of thought. when we look at our positions as well. So maybe there's a different aspect that you could bring to this role that maybe we didn't think about. So just because it says preferred, please do not just assume you do not meet basic qualifications. We see that a lot, especially in females and diverse applicants. We see a higher level of drop-offs when we get to those preferred questions. So as an organization, we try to put as few preferreds as possible because we want to make sure that we're getting those candidates and that we make you feel comfortable about saying, yes, I do meet these qualifications, I'm confident. But just as you're applying to other roles, if you do see a lot of preferreds in there, absolutely do apply. The requirements is what we have to move you forward, but preferreds, like I said, they're a nice to have. All right, so infamous, what do you put on a resume? What do you not? How long should it be? Lots of questions in this space. So if there are additional questions, please feel free to stop me. But essentially, what you want to do is you want to tailor your resume to the job description. That does not require a bunch of time, but maybe one job that you're applying for has that budget experience or that forecasting experience, but a different position that you're applying to maybe doesn't require that, and maybe there's a different aspect of your background that you would like to highlight more. Feel free to look at both, look at the position you're applying for, look at your resume, and tailor some things. The easiest way is tailor keywords. If if a job description is talking about strategic planning, promotions, make sure that you utilize the word promotions if you've done it. Obviously, there's a lot of different ways, a lot of synonyms for different types of experiences. So feel free to kind of utilize similar terminology, similar buzzwords if you have that experience. Please never lie on your resume, but absolutely tailor what you have and what they're looking for, because it will just make you, honestly, it'll make you stand out amongst the crowd. So especially when you're getting out of college, there's a lot of different avenues that you could go into as far as a career. So as you're kind of navigating that, tailor it for what the position is looking for, as like you said, as long as you have that experience. I already mentioned this, but call out those specific actions. If you've done budget planning, you've done strategic thinking, add those in there. If the job description is asking for something different, add that in there. I get this question a million times. How many pages? How many is too long? 2 pages is perfect. 3 is fine. I wouldn't go into anything more than that. Of course, coming out of school, it's going to be a lot less. But basically is don't give big paragraphs to your work history. We want just bullets, keep it concise, obviously the right information in there. You don't have to add, reference letters and cover letters and all of these things. If the job description doesn't mention a cover letter, you don't have to write one. If you have to write one, of course, make it very specific to the position that you're looking for. A cover letter also comes in handy if if it's a little bit of a stretch. So maybe I don't have this experience, professionally, but I have it personally. Maybe in my personal time, I volunteer for the APA, which is a pet shelter. And so I've got some pet shelter experience through that versus maybe at work. Absolutely, you can highlight that in a cover letter. It's a beautiful place to highlight it. You can show your passion, etc. And then, of course, I would document it on your resume just to make sure it's there twice. If you're kind of, like I said, looking for a little bit of a stretch, but a cover letter is not necessary. When a recruiter is looking at your information, we want to make sure that your resume is very clear. We understand exactly what you did. What were those key areas that you've worked in? And then I mentioned this, don't use run-on sentences, don't put it in paragraph form, make it easy to read, because a recruiter doesn't spend that long, and I'm gonna see if we can get some unmuters here. Anybody have any idea, any at all, how long does a recruiter spend looking at a resume? There's no wrong answers, you can't be wrong, I promise. How long do you think? Anybody got an idea? How long does a recruiter look at your resume?
3 minutes.
3 minutes. What else? Any others?
10 seconds.
10 seconds. Great guess. Any others?
There's a couple in the chat, Lauren. One said 3 seconds, and there's one that said 7 seconds as well.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you, Sam. Can't see my chat since I'm sharing screen. You guys, to be honest, you're all right. The average, though, is 7 to 10 seconds a recruiter looks at your resume. So that's why it's critical, like when you're looking at that job description, to mirror it. I say, honestly, just knowing our recruiting team, it's going to be more 20 to 30 seconds. We look for a lot of additional things. So like I mentioned earlier, we really look for diversity. We look for veteran status, gender balance. We look at different organizations that you may be a part of. Diverse thinking is something very important to our organization. So we do spend a little bit more time just to see if there are any other attributes that you maybe potentially could add to the role, like I said, that maybe we didn't think about, kind of getting into those preferred. So I would definitely challenge that number from a Purina perspective, just knowing how long our recruiters spend on each resume. That in addition, sometimes I get a question of like, oh, does a computer or does a bot get me out of consideration for a position? What if I don't have the right keywords? Am I not considered? We look at Purina, we look at every single resume that hits our desk. The only way we would not see your resume is if you did not answer yes to a basic qualification. What I mean by that, if we say you have to have a bachelor's degree from an accredited institution and you say, no, I don't have that, then we would not see your resume. Just from a compliance standpoint, we have to consider everyone at the same level. So therefore, we would not see it. But any of the preferreds, like I mentioned, we will still see you. We see a majority of our resumes. There's very few that, that don't come essentially across our computer screen. All right. So what should my resume look like? This is definitely a person that has had quite a bit of work experience. So just kind of giving you a layout. They start off with just a professional profile, just giving a little bit of their background. They've worked in CPG. Of course, they've tailored that to our job description, given that Purina is a consumer packaged good company. They've definitely highlighted some other things throughout the job description that you can tell has been tailored. You see next is English or languages, jump to the English, languages and skills. So this is a great opportunity for you to highlight very clearly in bullet points, hey, I've had market data analysis, or hey, I've had leadership or management opportunity. So that's great just to give you a real quick, because once again, some companies 7 to 10 seconds is all they're gonna see. So this is a great call out if you set up your resume like this to call that. Honestly, when I'm recruiting and looking at this, that's one of the first areas I go to, because then that draws me into reading everything else. So these bullets are a little long. Like I said, this person has a lot of experience. These bullets are a little long, but if you read through them, they're value add. Every single bullet that's on this resume is tailored to our job description. And then we round it out with just the companies that they've worked for, and then finally their education. I get questions, should my education go on the top? Should it go on the bottom? If you're just graduating, put education on the top. That is your most recent accomplishment, so be proud of it. So go ahead, put that on top, and then start with any extracurricular activities, any clubs, anything you're into, and then as well as any work history that you've had. So for those, like I said, graduating, you can absolutely put education at the top. Usually after you've had a couple jobs, you've got a little bit more experience, then you can start to filter education to the bottom, because at the end of the day, what is most relevant? You want the most relevant to go first. Any questions on that? And Sam, you might have to help me if it's in chat.
Hi, Lauren, this is Carrie. So I work in career planning, and when I talk with students, I usually recommend to sort of avoid templates, because oftentimes they don't really use space in the best way, or sometimes they have wonky like tables things. But I was just curious, from your perspective and like applicant tracking systems, are there any things that you see with candidates where it's like you have a hard time deciphering that information, if that makes sense?
Yes, great point. So I think especially when you're calling out templates that are really busy. So they have a lot of color, they've got a lot of graphics. And this is just my own personal, I've seen a lot of resumes that they like rate their skills, and sometimes it's in like a bar chart. So they'll be like, I'm an expert at Excel, I'm intermediate at Microsoft Teams, I'm, advanced at this. To me, there's no key, there's no understanding like what does advanced mean to you? So honestly, I think the opposite, like, oh, they're not quite as advanced in that skill as they are that. So to me, I always say like, leave those like cute charts off your resume, because I think if anything, it just makes whoever's looking at it doubt your other skills. You can definitely call out, hey, I'm great at Excel in your top bullets, or throughout your bullet points with, hey, I do pivot tables, I can create macros, etc. You don't necessarily need like a chart. So absolutely, especially those templates that are really busy. What happens is like the far left side will be convoluted with some imagery. Well, then you think your content is only going to be, a small narrow section of your paper. I know it's all digital now, but essentially my screen, you're taking up a lot of real estate space, if you will, with information that's not necessarily like relevant. So me personally, I like these clean, straight to the point. And like I said, to the beginning point, like, the bullet points in the beginning, I think is great. It calls out specific areas that you're skilled in. So that way, you've already hooked me. Like, oh, okay, this person has, this, that. I want to read, the rest. I'm engaged now. I'm interested. Sam, did you want to add anything on that as far as templates or resumes?
Yeah, absolutely. Agree with Lauren. I mean, everything that you said, especially getting into, the graphics and, rating the skill sets as, advanced, intermediate, definitely really just like to look at, the skills that they have. Like this resume that's pulled up here is a perfect example. Looking at the language and skills as well as professional profile, that's what's going to hook me in right at the beginning. I see those key words that are relatable to what we're hiring for, and you have those listed there. That wants me to know more, and now I'm engaged. I want to go through and I want to continue to read through your resume. So for me as a recruiter, I know recruiters are different in what they look for as far as formatting goes, but that's definitely what I look for up front. And that's what's important, not so much the graphic side of things and the colors and all of that.
Carrie, did we answer your whole question, or did you have something additional?
Yes, no, that was the main piece. Because like I said, I try to always kind of like check in with employers, make sure we're always giving advice that's clear and consistent with what you all are looking for too. So
absolutely. Clear, concise, to the point, like I said, tailoring it to, what you're looking for. At the end of the day, that's what makes you stand out. Was there any other questions while I've got this? Any other questions around resumes?
Yeah, I have one. So I guess it's kind of more specific to me, but I'm in computer engineering, and the most experience that I have in that field is purely from, as of right now, since I'm not graduating for another 2 years, is purely in the schoolwork I've done. And so you talked about tailoring your resume specific as like specific to the job you're looking for. And so I guess my question is, what would I do in that situation? Because I have like other experience. Like I've had like I ran like a car detailing business for like, I don't know, was it like 3 years? So I have some other stuff. Should I put that on there? What do you think? That's my question.
Absolutely, Robert. No, great question. Thank you for asking that. So absolutely. So when you put education towards the top of your resume, I would build it out. So, hey, bachelor in, sorry, did you say computer science engineering? Sorry.
Yeah, computer engineering.
computer engineering. I knew I was going to mess it up. Sorry. So computer engineering, and then you can put coursework included. So any big projects, any courses that stand out that would kind of build out that experience, absolutely, you can go ahead and list it underneath. And like I said, put education towards the top of it because that's most relevant. And anything you can build out that looks like the job description that shows that you have experience with that, absolutely. Take credit for any big projects that you've worked on. And then from there, don't play down that, you're, this entrepreneur or the work that you've done in the back end. That's obviously a lot of great experience as well. So then that can just come second because of course you're going to be applying to computer engineering schools or to computer engineering jobs. So absolutely just put it towards the top and then build out the coursework to show what you've mastered in those classes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Great question though. Thank you for asking that. All right. So here you've already seen the marketing job description. You already saw this resume that I pulled up. Here's a prime example of, I told you they matched, but here, and guys, I spent like a couple minutes highlighting this. So it is not an extensive list. There could be a lot more highlights on this, but this just gives you a visual of like, hey, as a recruiter, what are we seeing? We're seeing highlights. We're looking at that job description and seeing very quickly like, okay, data analysis, digital marketing, brand marketing, portfolios, planning, all of these things are jumping off this resume that says like, absolutely, I want to know more. I want my hiring team to know more because it looks like it could potentially be a really good fit. So this is a prime example, kind of a visual of what I say when I say tailor your resume. Don't lie, don't make up anything, but tailor it to what you're looking for. It doesn't have to be all encompassing. Like I said, if you don't have budgets, experience, that's okay. I think that's a great question to ask. Like, hey, what's my support going to be? What's the training going to be like? What systems do you use? Is there anything that you can learn on your own? I mean, I've had an interview and the individual was like, I don't have that much experience with, say, pivot tables, but they're like, I'll go home and watch some YouTube videos. And then by the time we brought them in for a face-to-face interview, they were able to say like, hey, I watched all these YouTube videos. I actually know how to do that now based on, what you were looking for in the job. I'll still need some coaching around it, but, at least have some basic understanding in what I was able to teach myself. That goes such a long way. I know not everything is as applicable to that, but it's just showing your awareness. It's showing your initiative to, hey, I've got all of these things. Maybe I'm not quite as savvy in that area, but I'm willing to learn. We love learning agility. We love individuals that are willing to come in. We believe that we are always constant learners. We're never experts. I will assure you, I'm a manager in my department and I am not the smartest person. I don't want to be the smartest person. That's why I have a wonderful team amongst us. But once again, diversity of thought makes our company great. It makes our groups great. So here, like I said, to get to back to the point, you can see very clearly all of the highlights, how well this person was able to tailor their experience to our job description. And like I said, these are real life examples, real job description, real profile. All right, so we've done all this work. We found the job of our dreams. We changed our resume and edited it to make sense. We are ready to apply. We've applied. Now we get to the phone interview. We get to talk to the recruiter. These have changed. I mean, you guys weren't interviewing, years back, but years ago, they used to be just a quick 10 to 15 minute call. Hey, how's it going? Do you have XYZ? Okay, we're going to move you on. Now we have put a lot of work on the front end. So do not, if you get a phone interview, don't think it's just going to be a touch base or a quick chat. Be prepared, be in a quiet environment, be ready to speak through your experience because it's going to be 30 to 60 minutes based on, the company that you're applying for. We're going to ask you about your background. We're going to ask you about your schoolwork, your coursework. If it's in a manufacturing plant, we're going to ask you about safety, key things that make sense for the position that you're applying for. And then the big one that I get every once in a while is like, what do I say for compensation? This is where Glassdoor really comes in handy, because you can do your own research. You can find out, hey, entry level, what does this position typically pay? What would I be willing to look at? And have a range in mind. I will be 100% transparent. When my recruiters ask this on the phone, it is not to weed anybody out. It's not to screen anyone out. It is clearly to have transparent conversation. So that way, if you say, I'm looking for $200,000 and this role pays 70, I'm going to give you a really clear, that's great. Unfortunately, we're going to be way off as far as compensation goes. And we're going to dive into that a little deeper. At no point will we just say, oh, nope, you're not a fit, I'll talk to you later. Because definitely with, Fair Pay Acts, we want to make sure that, you're getting paid of value. So we typically ask like, hey, is there a range you're looking to stay within? You can give us a range and then we'll be transparent. Yep, I think that's something that we can definitely be competitive with. Don't worry, like I said, from a Purina standpoint, we're not screening anyone out. We just want to make sure it's worth your time. We want to make sure that we have clear expectations moving forward, because our face-to-face interview is a 3-hour interview with 3 different individuals. So you spend some time with us. We want to make sure that that's value add. So definitely from a phone interview, be prepared to discuss compensation. Know what you're looking for in the position, have a range that you can honestly say you'd be happy with. And at the end, just a little bit more insight. We look at your years of experience. We look at your background. There's a lot of factors that go into providing a compensation. It's not what can we get you for, or I've heard quite a few things, but that's not it at all. We want to make sure we're paying you fair, but we want to make sure it's within reason as well. Like I said, if you come to us with 15 years of experience, I would definitely want to compensate you for that experience that you're bringing to our organization. Be prepared to come with examples of what you've done based on the job description. So talk through that, hey, you've done budget planning, make sure you have examples of when you were able to do that. I get a lot of questions, format to answer your questions. Do I have to answer in the STAR method? Do I have to answer whatever you're comfortable with? In Purina world, if you've got a beginning, middle, and end as you're walking me through your information, that's good enough for me. I'll ask if I have additional questions. We're not out like to trick you or anything. When you apply with us and you interview with us, we actually send you a link that says, hey guys, this is what you should expect from us. Here's a blog of everything you should expect. There's no trick questions. We just want to hear about you. So the recruiter will walk you through exactly what they're looking for as far as context goes. And if you're a little light, we'll let you know, hey, I've got these follow-up questions. We talked about this, be prepared on yourself to ask a few questions. So whether that's around the job description, whether it's something you saw on Glassdoor, maybe you're following us on LinkedIn and you saw this really cool post about pets that you want to know more about. Lots of different areas that you can pull the questions from, but come and be curious. There's no right or wrong questions, but there's definitely a great question and a not so great question. So think through, what do you want to learn from this versus like, I'm just asking questions to ask questions. There's so many avenues. I mean, we showed you all the social platforms that we're on. You can find information about any company, you can find what they're doing. So there's just a lot of opportunities. We have when somebody asks us about, say, a different, like an initiative that we have, like the Purple Leash Project, which is for domestic violence, like my ears perk up. I'm like, oh my gosh, like you're passionate about something I'm passionate about, let's chat. So anything like that you can pull that you're naturally curious about, just shows just your investment and what you're looking for out of the company. And like I said, it doesn't have to be hard. You can follow us on all these channels and find out so much about us. And that goes along with and tied it into researching the company. No part of our interview process are we going to ask you who is the CEO. We're not going to ask you who the VP of the department is. We're not going to ask you what we posted last week. There's no trick questions in our interview process. It is strictly, let's find out about you. We'll answer questions that you have, but there are no trick questions. We just want to make sure that it's a mutual fit as we move through the interview process. So we do utilize behavior-based interviewing. So that's where that STAR method comes in, situation, behavior, outcome. There's a lot of different ways that you can kind of call these, but it's a situation, it's a story. So just some kind of quick pointers on that. Be clear, be concise, always have your results handy so you can just round out the example very clear. Have more examples than what you think you're going to use. We tell you right up front how many questions we're going to ask you. I would always recommend have more than that ready, just in case we ask you a question that maybe doesn't fit that particular situation. Like I said, we give you a whole blog when you come to interview with us, so you know exactly what to expect. We already talked about prepare a list of questions, think through what's a strategic question, like what's my advancement opportunities look like? What are your top performers? What are they doing? How do I become like them? Why do they like working here? What makes them stay? We had some great tenure in the group today. Why do they stay at Purina? How will I be evaluated? How do I know what my goals are? And then if you have, like I said, any questions about the company or industry, and then ask what the next steps in the process. But at the end of the day, I've already mentioned this, but relax. You're just here to tell your story. You're just here to tell your situation. That's all the recruiters, at least at Purina, are looking for. They just want you to be comfortable. But we just want to know more. We're inquisitive. We're very curious. So we enjoy talking to people. That's why we do what we do. And then behavior during the selection process. Who's your main contact? It's usually the recruiter, but it's always great to find out. Ask them, how often can you touch base? I want to know if you get an offer with a different company, I want you to feel comfortable in saying like, hey, Lauren, I got another offer. Like, where are you at in the process? I'm still interested. I love that. Absolutely. Let me check with my hiring team. Let me get you a decision either way. So that way you know, hey, I need to take this other offer with this other company, or hey, wait, I'm going to get an offer with the company that I really want to work for, which is Purina. And then it's always a good idea to send a thank you. It can be as quick as an email to the recruiter. If you have the interviewer's contact information, it's always great. Just recap, thanking them for the experience, set yourself apart. You don't have to mail one in, kind of gone are those days. I mean, if you really want to, sure, we won't get it for a while, but an email is nice, quick, easy. But it just shows that you're interested in the company. So with that, love to turn it over to you. I know I went through some things kind of quickly, kind of high level. Is there anything you wanted me to speak more about?
Hi, I have a question for about years of experiences. So I'm currently pursuing a master's degree at Washington University in St. Louis. And sometimes when I look at the job descriptions, some jobs require like 1 or 2 years of work experiences, even for like entry-level jobs. And I don't really have any work experience before my master's degree because I'm pursuing a master's degree right after my graduation of a bachelor's degree. So in this case, can I say I have 1 or 2 years or a couple of years of work experience? So does my master's degree count as work experience as well? I'm kind of curious about it.
Absolutely, great question. To be honest, I don't want to give you a vague answer. It's going to depend on how the basic qualifications written on the job description. If it does say work experience, they are looking for professional experience. But here's a great opportunity where if you are connected with other recruiters on LinkedIn, you can always float your resume. I love when people message me on LinkedIn and say like, hey, this is kind of what I'm looking for. What we do from that invitation is we set you up with a networking call with one of our recruiters, and we walk through like, hey, what are you looking for? And it's more of a conversation versus just like, hey, I'm throwing a resume. Hopefully I meet everything. We actually set you up with someone on our team so you can gain that network. As well as then we're both doing the search for you and saying like, oh, okay, we've got this, position. It's not requiring any professional experience. We're open to, your master's degree, and then we can outreach you. So it will depend on how the company, because I'm going to speak vague for other companies, how it's written. If it is professional experience, it does need to be from a company. But like I said, that's when LinkedIn really comes in. Search the recruiters, ask them if you can have a networking call. That's at least what we do from Purina's sake. So that way we can connect with you and find out what your interests are. Great question.
So what are questions when you ask in the interview, when like you ask a question, like the interviewee, what are some overused questions that you hear?
That candidates give to us or that we use?
That candidates give to you?
So I would say, and no questions are bad questions, right? You would just want to learn about the opportunity. So don't ever overthink it. If it's a question you need answered, ask them. But if they're all really general, like, what does a day in the life look like? What are my main responsibilities? Those a lot of times are shared in the job description. So you should be able to at least kind of find out those types of things. But honestly, Robert, I'm never like, oh, that's a bad question, because if you need it answered, I would be more than happy to answer it. Maybe it is that you want to know a day in the life. Maybe you want to know, how do dogs get through? Oh, when I set myself up for failure, what are those roundabout doors called? But anywho, we've got those on campus. So I've even had people be like, how do dogs get through those? And I was like, well, let me tell you, they're really good. They're really trained. So that may be a question of day in the life. Like, you know what I mean? So it just depends. I'm open to any and all questions. Like I said, if it's something you want to know, absolutely. Don't ask questions just to ask questions. Especially if you're like, hey, what's this? Hey, what's this? Hey, what's this? And you're not engaging with the recruiter, not like, oh, hey, revolving door is always an adventure with my dog. Yes, thank you, Laura. I have access to chat again now. Thank you. Yes, that's seriously a serious question we get all the time. The revolving door. Thank you. How do dogs get through that? It's sometimes a process. But if it's a question you want answered, absolutely, please ask away. Any other questions? I want to be conscious of time. Lisa, we start at 6, correct?
Yes, we do. So I know some folks have already jumped off because they have 6 o'clock mock interviews with their respective folks. And so, yeah, if any of you do have those 6 o'clocks, you do want to jump over to your other meeting invite that you got from the person who will be doing your mock interview today. And if there's anyone that doesn't and you have any extra questions, feel free. I don't know how much time, Lauren, or I think Sam may be assigned for an interview.
Yep, she is. Is anybody coming back, or are we done after mock?
We are done after the mock interviews.
Okay, sounds good. Well, everyone, it was great to meet you guys. Have a great evening. Enjoy your mock interviews.